think it's recording. So we're going to be changing the thermostat on the 2017 Dodge Grand Caravan. We've gotten the code, I believe it's PO128 or something like that. Anyway, that's the thermostat for this guy. So we got to take this off the brake reservoir, move it out the way, and on it, it's on the passenger side. See if I can get my camera down there. It's right here. Nope, that's not it. Right there. Okay, I know it's hard to see on the camera. That Phillips head screw looking thing. That's it right there. So I got my tablet. It's the only thing besides my phone that I have for a camera, but I believe we'll need 10mm socket and a 13. I just realized I forgot to bring my adapter, and that is bigger than a 13. That's because I grabbed the wrong socket. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to grab my toolbox. I watched a video on this, and this I think looks like a 13. No, I have my wrenches with me. Yeah, that's 13. So this one is a 13 mil. And then we got to take our air cleaner off just to get it out of the way. You could probably do it without. So that's just going to kind of sit there. Turn this smidgen. Let's see. Of course. Of course, I don't have my screwdrivers with me. Alright, well, I guess we'll show we can do this with just box wrenches. Let's pull this off. Anyway. Good Lord. Yep, see, I knew it. There we go. Alright, so this out of the way. And we will eventually have to put the van up on my ramps so we get something underneath for when we lose a little bit of fluid. This takes a flathead, but in the video it said what tools you need, and all they said was a ratchet, 10mm, and a 13mm. Well, that's wrong. That was a 13mm. And this is a 5/16 or a flathead. So let's see here. Let's loosen that up a smidge more. This would be a lot easier if we can get this hose off on this end. Or if you just do like I didn't do, and bring all your tools with you. So I'm about roughly 30 miles from where I live. I live in an apartment, so I can't do these kind of repairs there, or I'll get in trouble. That's good enough. Okay. And then this just unclips, but we gotta take this top off first. Boy, they sure make these tight to get to sometimes. And on the back side, nope. Alright, so take that off. You also said while you're in here, you might as well place your air filter, but I believe I had mine done recently. Set that off to the side. So the bottom piece of it, they said it just unclips. Yep. Yeah, just came right off of there. Now you have got a wire hooked to that right here. We should get that off of there. There we go. Alright. So then I'll show you what we're working with here. Right there. This is the thermostat. It's the housing, as I showed you before, but it has the thermostat built in. I believe that's the 10mm, which I don't have. You guys know, if you're familiar with tools, which most of you are, I'm sure. 10mm box wrench and sockets, especially sockets, are the ones that magically disappear all the time. So let me find my 7/16 box wrench. Because I believe 7/16, if I remember right, and I could be wrong, it's equivalent to 10mm. No, not quite, a little bigger. But yeah, I do have a 10mm box wrench. I couldn't find my socket last night. Oh wow, that was loose. That was not on there very tight. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, so that broke loose. Get this bottom one down here. Alright, those were both finger tight. Actually, you know what? I don't even have to put this on my ramps. Oh, never fails. Alright. So let me get my oil drain pan. Not going to lose a lot of fluid, but I got some sort of catch pan, which I usually just use my oil drain pan. You don't want to slide it under there. Roughly right under where it'll catch what little bit of fluid you're going to lose there. Alright, so let's see, let's get... Oh, you will need a pair of channel locks or vice grips. It has one of those squeeze clamps on. I don't remember what the technical term is for it. I don't do a lot of actually I don't have any videos like this, but I want to try to start doing more. I thought this one was finger loose, but it was not. It was about a split second. I had the oil change the other day, and the guy must have been new or something. I don't know, but he got oil all over the top of this engine. And ironically enough, that very next day is when this threw a code for the thermostat. And I'll show you what I use for diagnosing that. I have a thing called fixed, FIXD. I'll show you how that works. Man, this bottom one is being stubborn. It's almost there. That is a long radiator hose. So this is the 2017 Dodge Grand Caravan base model, 3.6 liter V6 with a 6-speed automatic transmission. I'm going to take my coat off. Okay, there we go. Yep, we're already losing a little bit of fluid, that's alright. Perfect. So, in the video they took off this plastic piece down there. I just left it on because it's actually working as, not necessarily a funnel, but it's directing the antifreeze right down to my catch pan, which worked out quite nicely. And so far, not a single drop on the driveway, which is what we want. Which if we did, we'd rinse it off naturally so dogs and cats don't get to it, or other critters. Alright, channel locks. I actually grabbed a pair of vice grips. That's where this guy's going to be in the way a smidge. So I'm going to open it up just enough to get this clamp off. You also want to get a new thing of antifreeze to replace anything you lose, which again, not much at all. Now I've already cleared the code for this, but it takes, they say it takes like 25 miles or so before it'll actually clear off of there. Which I should be pretty close by the time I get about a quarter of the way home today. But I'll clear it again after we do this. Oh, come on now, you little devil. This clamp does not want to. That's alright. Looks like we can just. Yeah. 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 Ow. Okay, let's tighten that up just a hair. I don't want it to go that way. It's turning, but doesn't want to come out. So if you get this code, yeah, the clamp is not on the. Now there it comes. It's almost out. Squeeze it in just a smidge more, maybe. Oh, come on. There we go. There, finally. Now we get the little monster out of here. Okay, so there's the old one. But they get, I believe they say they get stuck open, which is a good thing, because that means you can still drive it. I'll grab a rag and clean my hands so I don't get that anyone dirty. Of course, before we put it in, we're going to verify. Make sure they're identical. They look the same. Yep. That part's a little different, but it's still the same shape. And all right, I think we're good to install it. So, I used to have a lot of people call me to do stuff on their cars because they're intimidated, too afraid to do stuff on their car because they're not mechanically inclined. They don't want to mess stuff up, which is completely understandable. And so I go help them because I've been there. I think we've all been there at one point in our life. And but I tell them, most things on your car, exterior of the engine, is actually quite simple. And so long as you've got the tools for it, you can do it. I'm self-taught. There's a lot I don't know about engines. There's a lot I can't do. I have basic tools, so I can do basic repairs. So if you're in my position where you're needing to do this, and I'm sorry I don't have the angle for over here. There's no way I can hold my It's in the van. It's out here. What?
The washer's ready for your laundry.
Oh, okay. I'm almost done. Yeah, I told you it's gonna be quick. Anyway, all I have is my tablet. So I apologize for not having this angle, but I will show you the new one once I get these stubborn little bolts tightened. This bottom one is finicky. It is a stubborn little devil. Let me tell you. So I just bought this van like 5 months ago. I've owned Caravans before, 2 other ones actually. I had a 97 and a 2008. There it is, right in front of my eyeballs. But they've definitely changed them up a little bit. Like this one has, the other 2 I had 4-cylinder engines with I think 4-speed automatic transmissions. And this one, which when I first got it, I thought it had a 4-cylinder. Then I popped the hood to see about doing changing the plugs on it, see what I was gonna be getting into, how difficult it was gonna be. Which looks like you gotta take all this stuff off to get to the back, but that's when I learned it was a 6-cylinder. Yeah, my band-aid just came off. 6-cylinder with a 6-speed transmission. I was in car shopping, so I want to get a Challenger, but I found this. I don't remember what kind of car it was now, but it had a V6 with a 9-speed automatic transmission, all-wheel drive, and I think it was putting out 400-something horsepower. Or these bolts are the same length, but this bottom one, just so you know, it's long-winded. I don't know if it's the angle I'm working at or what, but definitely make sure you have a 10mm socket with a ratchet. And you will need the shortest extension. If you have the adapter for, I think it's a 3/8 drive, use that, and that should be perfect length. Or if you have just the ratchet and a 10mm deep socket, that would work too. Don't use a box wrench like me. Bring all your tools with you. Okay, we're getting there. Yeah. 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 Okay, I think we're good there. Wipe my hands off. That was definitely way quicker. That's probably the fastest I've ever done a thermostat. So there you go. There's the new one. Here's the top bolt. The bottom bolt's right below it to the right. So you're working right next to the frame there. If you got big hands, big arms, it might be a little bit tougher for you, but I got small hands, skinny arms. Alright, I'm gonna get this buttoned up and then we'll test it out. Start it up and see about clearing that code, and I'll show you again what I use for doing that and for diagnosing. If you haven't heard of fixed, F-I-X-D, look it up. You can Google it. I couldn't find my device because I hadn't used it in a while. I haven't needed it because I have a 2008 Dodge Charger that I've had for 3 years, and that thing, I haven't had to do anything to it mechanically or otherwise, other than you know, your typical maintenance, preventative maintenance and that. where do you go? You go that way and down, but you're not wanting to. There it is, right there. Should be where that sits, huh? Stubborn little devil. Get in there. Alright. I think that's in. Alright. That sits on there. It can't go down any further than that. That's gonna sit there. That guy goes on there. Alright. Always inspect your filter. Mine's good, as you can see. Fairly new. Another thing you want to check just about any time you do your air filter is your cabin air filter. I have not checked on this yet, so maybe after this I'm not sure where it's at. It's usually on the passenger side. You either access it up here or under your dash. It's usually fairly simple. Alright, so before we get too far with that, I don't think we lost enough fluid to have to add to it. Let's check our overflow here. Yeah, overflow's good. Alright. Grab the antifreeze. Go ahead and add some. I don't know if you guys can see me. Let me turn that. So my reservoir is full. Well, it's full of water because it was low the other day and that's all I had. I wonder if there's a way to drain that. So I'd rather put this antifreeze in it. I don't think there's a way to drain your reservoir, is there? Not without taking it out, so we're not going to worry about that. Just go ahead and put some in it carefully. Now this van is not warmed up. So we'll pour a bunch in here and then we'll fire it up and let it get to operating temperature. You don't want to put too much, especially if your overflow is already full. So let me get my coat, get my keys out. So anytime you lose fluid, technically you want to get the front end up a little bit. That helps get the air out. But if you can't do that, then you just run it for a little bit. Let's see, I think I'm going to move you guys over here. There we go. So once we get this up to temperature, so far there's no leaks, so we did good on the installation. Once we get it up to temperature and we get inside the van, I'll read that code to you as to what it says specifically, and I'll show you the device I use for diagnosing and clearing these codes. Alright, so we're getting up there. So this, where's the camera? There it is, fixed. This is what I use for diagnosing. Is an OBD2. You just plug that into your OBD2 port. Yeah, we're getting there. So let's So let me set you guys down. I'll start adding some more fluid. I think that thermostat's opened up now. Not quite, so it's got fluid to the top now. Now we just need to wait for all them bubbles to come up, push all the air out of the system. So this is where it helps. Like I could pull this up on my ramps. I'm not gonna. But what that does is putting it on an incline like that, the air is gonna travel uphill better. But this was a minor, very, very minor repair. You know, just the thermostat. You can still see it right there. So we didn't lose hardly any fluid at all, matter of fact. It was barely dripping on that. It's got a little bit in there, but there might be some oil left in there too from the previous deal. So I'm going to end this here, and I'll pick up once we get back in the van and we get on the device I use that fixed. I went ahead and decided to record while I was doing that. As you saw, the water was coming up, so we've got pressure in the system now. What I was doing, opening this and looking, that water was coming all the way up to the top, and I was checking to make sure that it was actually filling into the overflow. It didn't look like it was. I think it is, but because it's got so much in it, it's just hard to see. So when you're doing anything like a water pump, thermostat, you're changing your radiator hoses, especially if you're doing that kind of a job, especially a water pump or your radiator hoses or all of the above, at that point you do want to pull it up on ramps or get the front of the car jacked up once you get everything put back together, because you really want to bleed the system and make sure you get all the air out of the system. And when you do that, I forgot to mention earlier, you turn your heater on defrost, as hot as it'll go, and full blast. And what that does is it opens up the valve to allow the water to flow through your heater core, which is where your heat comes from. Your blower motor blows against that, and that's where you get your hot air. If you don't have that on defrost, it won't open that valve for the heater core, and so your heater core will have air in it, and you could end up overheating because your system will still have air in it. So you want to make sure that you're on defrost, full blast, full heat. On this particular van, you can change the temperature on both sides. It has 2 dials. So you want to make sure both those dials are on hot, fan's on full blast. Since we just did a thermostat and we didn't lose hardly any fluid, we don't need to necessarily put this up on jacks or on ramps or anything like that. So there's not going to be a whole ton of air in the system. And as you saw the fluid come right up to the brim of the radiator there, just where the cap goes. So it had already pushed probably all the air out, so we were okay to put the cap back on. And now I'm going to check and see if it's at operating temperature. Then we'll move on to that fixed diagnostics tool I use. We're not quite to operating temperature. I think I'll probably take this for a drive to really get this fluid circulated throughout the system, and then we'll go ahead and move on. Alright, so just took it for a drive. It's running back up at normal operating temperature. We're going to keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't go over. You can see it kind of fluctuating just a smidge. Sorry, the sun's right there. There we go. So we'll pay attention to that while we sit here. And Let's see, how am I going to do this? I got to get my phone. So bear with me 1 second here. Let me get you guys flipped around here. Okay. So, excuse me. There is an app that comes with this, so you want to purchase the item first. So as you can see right here, the fixed FIXD. So you open that up, and you want your car running. I don't know if you noticed when we were looking at the dash if you saw the check engine light. So we're gonna go to the van, and then we're gonna hit this button right here. That's gonna scan it. It has my old car on there, 2000 Volvo S40, but I don't know why it still does that. I took that car off of this. So it's checking. Okay. One problem detected. Moderate driving impact. Thermostat rationality. PO128 engine code. So we're going to click on that. I want to read you what the actual message they give you for that. Now on here, it says confirmed fix and cost. See what fixes these issues for others and how much they paid. They're saying between $588 to $626. You guys saw how quick that was for us to do, right? It took us maybe all together maybe 15 minutes, but that's because you got to add fluid, watch it, make sure it's full, get all the air out. But actually taking the old one out and new one in was like less than 10 minutes, I'll say. So since we've already fixed it, we're going to go down here all the way to the bottom, hit clear codes. I hope you guys can see this. Okay, so it's going to pop up. It's still going to show the clear codes thing, but like I said earlier, if you back out, the check engine light will stay on. It takes a few miles to clear, but you can go up here, light's still on. Is the light on your dash a check engine light? Yes. If it's something different, put no or I don't know. So here's where they give you the message. Some codes require 25 plus miles driven after being cleared to shut off the light. Other codes are considered severe, and your vehicle will force them back on after we clear them. If this light persists after a normal drive, try performing a manual diagnostics or contacting our mechanical hotline for additional support. That's another thing about this. If you're not mechanically inclined, and you feel more comfortable having someone like talk you through it or whatever, they have a mechanics hotline right there, and then there's the button for the manual diagnostics. So you can click that. I've never done that. So you have options. What problem are you having? Looks like, sounds like, smells like, feels like, or not working properly. So you could select. We're not going to go through all that because we've already done the repair. It'd be a waste of time. So let's rescan, because I'm sure it's going to pull that code up again. I wanted to read to you what they said about that. I don't think I read it. Thermostat rationality. So it says the consequences of continued driving. If you have DEQ in your area, which where I live I don't, it says may not pass emissions test. And then right here you can. Yep. So and they even have a YouTube video on there for that code. You can watch that. That's the video I watched. So P0128 thermostat rationality. Below a certain temperature, the coolant thermostat keeps all of the engine coolant. Yeah, we're actually under, just barely under operating. Below a certain temperature, the coolant thermostat keeps all of the engine coolant in the engine block and none in the radiator. This helps to warm the car up quickly. This error indicated that it takes longer for your car to warm up, so that's all it really does. So what happens is the thermostat sticks open, so you have continuous flow. You have full flow, as if you started your car, it warmed up to operating temperature, the thermostat opened, it's just already open. Even when the engine gets cold, it's stuck open. So you can drive it. Naturally, you want to get it replaced as soon as possible, just so that everything's proper and running right. So from where I live to here is about 28 miles, so they said 25 plus miles. This is my second time resetting the code. I'm gonna shut the van off. It's hot in here, so my heat's good, so that's how I know there's no air in the system. If you do a water pump, your radiator hoses, or even the thermostat, and you think you filled it and you get in and you still have cold air, you have no heat whatsoever, you most likely have air in the system still, so that's when you want to get it up on ramps, jack stands. You don't have to go too high, just like 6 or 8 inches off the ground, just to get the engine at an incline. And then pop your radiator cap when the engine's cool enough to do so. Start the car and let it work out those air bubbles. And you want to fill that radiator enough to where you can see the water. This one, it kind of swoops down and in. Here, let's go ahead and shut this off and see. That noise you hear is my blower motor, and yes, I gotta get that replaced, but I can live with it for now. So there's all the lights we get. And that check engine light is still on, which is fine. It'll eventually go off. So anyway, that's, as you can see, that was a simple fix. Most things on your vehicle, whether it's engine, even brakes are, especially disc brakes, are very, very simple. It's just a matter of a few bolts, replacing a few parts, obviously your pads. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to do more videos like this. If you like it, hit the like button, and share it if you know someone that's also dealing with that code. Thank you.